What's up, true believers? It's that time of year again where people dress up in costumes and pretend to be somebody they're not. Forgive the lack of face cam for this video. I just figured, given the topic of today's video, it just made more sense for me not to, get in a whole get up and try and speak through, a mask for an extended period of time. Given that we are firmly in the spooky season, we are in October, I figured this was the perfect time to kind of sit down and sort of reflect and talk about the suits that I've put together thus far. And as I was sitting down and writing the script for this video, I kind of ended up just wanting to I just ended up talking about the RPC Studio and kind of why you might not want to order from them. So that's going to be the topic of today's video, which coincidentally will encompass the first three suits I ever put together. And each one of these suits have taught me something. You do this for long enough and you start to you learn things, you start to experiment. And so, I just felt like this was a good opportunity to kind of just make a video solely about the RPC Studio because I have so much to sort of say about them. And like I said, my first three suits were from them. And I figured this was a good opportunity to do that. So strap on in. It's going to be a bit of a longer video here. We'll just dive right on in. So starting off, the first suit I ever ordered was the Astonishing suit. I'm actually the first person to have the Astonishing pattern. If you see it around on print costume stuff, that was because of me. I chose that Spider-Man specifically because his body type mostly resembled mine without being like a teenager. So that's why I kind of went with him. And because I was going to be doing charity events, I wanted something that was immediately recognizable to kids, but not sort of tied to a specific version of the character, like, say, a Tobey Maguire suit or like an Andrew Garfield suit. I also wanted something that, like, really hardcore fans would be able to look at and sort of pick up and realize and know what version of Spider-Man that was. I went maybe a little too niche because nobody's ever picked up on it. Everybody's guess has always been the Ultimate Spider-Man, and that's partly because of the eyes. When I initially ordered this suit, I didn't really do much research. I did a Google search. I didn't actually go into the miniseries and really look panel by panel. So the lenses ended up being like really inaccurate. But overall, it was a really nice suit. My one gripe that I had with the suit is that when I ordered it, I specifically asked for 0 muscle shading because I don't find that muscle shading looks really good if you don't have like a lot of muscle or like you're just like a smaller built person. It doesn't just always come off right because it's not being tailored to your body. So I didn't want any. And then when I got the suit though, it had muscle shading on it, but I was so happy with like everything else and it fit really, really good. And I was just kind of over the moon with it that for me, it was just like, all right, that's like annoying, but it's fine. I'll just have to note to be, more specific in the future, more clear about what I want moving forward. So then we go into my second ever suit, my dream suit, the one that if I wasn't going to be doing charity events, I would have ordered first, and that is my What If Fantastic Four suit, which was designed by Gunhead. And the suit sort of served as like a solidifier that while the RPC Studio makes quality suits, their communication skills are kind of crap. It took them 3 tries to get the suit to my specifications, which, like, keep in mind, I wasn't being overly specific. It was just like, I don't want muscle shading. I want the emblem this color, and things like that. So the first suit that they sent me not only had muscle shading again, despite me, clearly asking, hey, I don't want muscle shading. But it also got the color of the Fantastic Four emblem wrong, despite me sending him several reference photos. I combed through my physical copy and took picture after picture after picture from every possible angle so that it didn't repeat like the mistakes of the past, essentially. And they still got it wrong. In addition to that, the suit's hood couldn't even zip close with their own face shell. So I had to send that back. The second suit, which I do still have somewhere here, again, still couldn't zip the hood up on. Like, they didn't even make it remotely bigger at all, despite me citing that. And the logo was still the wrong goddamn color. So, told them, had to wait again, and now I got the third suit, which is what you're seeing on screen, which just like barely fits as far as like the head region goes. I had to remove the padding from the face shell to even get it to fit, and because of that, I can basically only wear it like an hour before I get a headache. And keep in mind, this whole process to get to this third version took a year of me like hounding them and doing back and forths. And like, and on top of all that, the frickin' emblem has an air bubble in it. So I got the suit, test fitted it, had to have my brother's help the first time. We thought we were going to break the friggin' zipper getting the hood closed. And then it sat in my closet for a whole year before I ever like shot it or even like wore it again. Because by that point, I was just so like emotionally drained. I didn't even want to wear it anymore. So what that all taught me essentially was like, hey, just because you like spend good money doesn't mean who you're ordering from is sort of like competent in the process or like consistent in the process, which was like the catalyst for me really shopping around at other makers, whether it be for like patterns or suits in general or face shells and lenses. And that then brings us to suit number 3, which I think was maybe my 4th, 5th, maybe 6th suit total. And that was my Spider-Punk suit, which the original version was from the RPC Studio, and that's what we're talking about. And it was like the suit that broke the camel's back. All my previous complaints that I just listed were amplified. I asked for no muscle shading on the pattern, and I asked for like a specific version of the pattern. Again, supplied plenty of reference photos, and these guys ended up having me wait friggin' months to get them to have Gunhead design the pattern that I wanted. And every time I'd sort of follow up on it, they would essentially blame it on the fact that I didn't want muscle shading, and then would like shirk the blame to Gunhead and continually try to get me to just get one of their suits that they already had a pattern for, which I then would have to like tell them like, well, no, I ordered a custom pattern from you guys because I don't want the versions that you already have. I want the comic version of this suit. And so, yeah, it was just like months of that, of like nothing and no updates. I would have to hound them for updates, and it would essentially be the same thing. We're waiting on the pattern. And like, listen, I've gotten a custom pattern from Gunhead. Gunhead's super responsive and had it done in like maybe a week for like some minor tweaks. So it's like, having that knowledge in hindsight, there's no friggin' way that it was Gunhead's fault that the pattern didn't get done, because the base was already done. All he would have had to go do is like make minor tweaks to a pattern that he already had pre-existing, essentially. Like it was just a simplified version basically of patterns that he had already designed. So, anyways, eventually I just said screw it and asked them if they could send me a PS4 suit instead because I had been wanting to do one anyways. And I noted for them to still send me the Spider-Punk lenses and shell though, because that's like what I paid for, and I just was at that point I was like, well, this is really the key piece at this point. I can just go to Zentai Zone at the time, Print Costume now, because I by this time I had already dabbled with them and I had noticed that the quality was basically the same. So I was like, I would just at this point I'd rather do that. So they're like, okay, sure, no problem. So I wait several more months, finally get the suit, and not only does the suit not fit the face shell that they sent me the friggin' PS4 face shell, which is like $70 to $80 less than the Punk shell that I paid for. Not only that, their PS4 lenses and shell at this time were friggin' terrible. Like, there was a gap between the lenses and the face shell itself. So if you turned your head, you would just see it like hovering. And then on top of that, when I had asked to make the change over to the PS4 suit, I specifically asked them, hey, can you do installed shoes? I'll pay the difference, whatever, because originally I was ordering the Punk suit. So I didn't do that because I was always going to wear shoes over the bottom. And again, they're like, yeah, okay. But when I got it, it didn't have them. And at that point in my life, I was not comfortable installing my own shoes. So the suit, even if the shell had fit, it would have been worthless to me. So then I went back to them again and was like, hey, this is wrong. And at that point I just said, screw it. I'm just gonna go to somebody else for the pattern. So I went to Danger Industry, at the time Idiot Engine, and I was just like, here, can you design this pattern for me? Designed the pattern for me. I sent back the PS4 suit and the lenses, and sent them that pattern. Waited several months, and then finally got the suit, and it was too big. It was too big. The legs, like what you're seeing in the photo now, way too big. Their legs and thigh region have always been a little too big on me, and I've noticed that on for a lot of at least skinnier dudes, it's always like too big. But this time it was massive. What you're seeing on screen is after I had it taken in by somebody, and it was like a nightmare. And so I basically went back to them again and was like, hey, this is still wrong. And basically I ended up getting like a refund for the suit because I was just so over it. I was just like, listen, I'll send it back. I don't care. Like, I'm kind of done. Can I just get a refund for the suit? And then even then I had to like argue, because then they wanted me didn't want to give me the right amount because they said I still like owed essentially for the face shell, even though I used a discount code. But they were trying to claim then like, oh, well, you can't use the discount code if you do like a half and half payment, half at the beginning, half when it's done. I was like, well, no, we're not doing that. So anyways, they did end up refunding me at least for like the suit part. And then I ended up just going to, Print Costume, or at the time Zentai Zone, and just ordering the suit there. But yeah, this was the suit, like I was saying, that basically broke the camel's back for me, and then basically made me dislike the RPC Studio. Not necessarily their suits specifically, but like just like the brand and like how inconsistent they are with their suits. But anyways, moving on, probably about like a few years at this point, and I'm sort of now I'm like ordering shells from other people, and getting custom patterns from other people, suits from other makers, because it just ended up being like It's more cost effective and so much like less of a headache. And I get around to doing my back in black suit. And once again, the RPC screws me. So here's sort of what happened. For this suit, I really wanted their white style lenses. I just thought like it would be the perfect interpretation of the source material. And their masks with attached lenses they're good price, honestly. So I figured, hey, I'll give them the pattern that I have for the suit so that they can just, sub-dye print the black onto the white fabric, and it should, the saturation should match the suit that I had already ordered from Print Costume. And, easy peasy, well, I got the mask, and not only did they not, print the black onto the thicker white fabric, they sewed the mask in a completely friggin' different way than what they would have normally. So instead of the seam lines being near the eyes, like they would be traditionally, they had one single seam line running down the friggin' center of the forehead. Luckily, it was a quick kind of fix, but I did end up having to wait, as they sent me a new mask with, the adjustments. That being said, once again, they didn't heed my request, and they just put the lenses back on a black spandex mask. And at this point, I had been waiting for freaking months, and I had just hoped that it would work. And, spoiler, it really didn't. The saving grace, though, the only saving grace is the fact that I only ever intended to shoot the suit at night. So I figured, hey, the difference in the saturation won't necessarily matter if it's shot right. And for the most part, that's true. If you look at these images of the suit, you can't really tell that there's a difference. The other upside is that I got to keep the old mask, so I was able to detach the lenses. However, the downside to that is I thought, hey, maybe I can just order the corresponding face shell from them and slap magnets on it and just make my own, magnetofacial lenses, and great, bada bing, bada boom, perfect. And they told me, no, we don't offer our face shells separately. And so I was like, awesome. So I tried to use the Spider-Punk one that I already had. Didn't end up working. So, yeah. Some of the magnets got removed. At this point now, I'm a little more confident. So I'm kind of thinking maybe I'll just attach them to myself and then, it'll work. I'll have two options, But yeah. So, after that fiasco, you'd think surely I had learned my lesson, but wrong. I'm a glutton for punishment. So, for my dark suit, I thought I'd give them one more go around, law of averages and all that. So I scooped up a pattern from Super Geek, I think, or maybe it might have been somebody else. I know I was kind of humming and hawing between two different people. So it might be Crazy Frankie's. Anyways, I grabbed up a pattern. And it was essentially going to be the same setup as the first suit I ordered. So I figured the likelihood of them messing something up had to be slim. The most I asked for was essentially a custom recolor of their symbiote lenses, which I asked them ahead of time to make sure that they could do no problem, and they assured me, yeah, that would be fine. So yeah, I went ahead, I paid, it outright, and when I got it, it was so gosh dang tight. I just don't. It's like I don't understand how one company can wildly vary so much, like in their sizing. The measurements are the same as the one I use for Print Costume, and those suits every single time fit me perfectly. And what's crazy is the measurements I gave them for this suit were larger than the measurements for my first suit, And this suit might as well be a second skin with how tight it is. And yet, where it doesn't fit right somehow is the friggin' mask. Unlike the first suit I ordered, where the mask has zero scrunching between the bridge of my nose, this one has, it's like the mask is so tight that you can see my lips, and yet there's a massive amount of scrunching between the bridge of my nose. And I just don't understand how that's possible. Because, like I said, not only did that not happen with my first suit, which I gave the exact same head measurements for, it didn't happen with my Back in Black mask that I ordered from them. If you look at them, it's like, I don't understand. Not only that, but this suit is like shorter than the other suits I got from them. It just barely pulls over my head. And it is, like I said, it is so tight that I had to have my girlfriend zip me into it. And I remember telling her, like, I don't know, this might be the suit that, like, doesn't fit. And so this is when I learned that the RPC's work varies wildly from suit to suit. Like, there's absolutely zero consistency no matter what you do. There's no rhyme or reason. Because, like, at least if you order from Print Costume and it doesn't fit you, you can sort of, like, learn where you need to, like, adjust your measurements for their sewing methods. And then you're, like, good to go, forward. That's what I did to accommodate my face shells. Like, that's what I learned. But with the RPC Studio, you have no freaking idea, like, what leeway you should be giving in your measurements. Like I said, my mask, in theory, should have fit exactly the same as my previous ones that I ordered. And yet, it doesn't. So it's just like, that was kind of like it for me. And it was sort of like solidified my pledge in, like, that unless the suit that I wanted, I really needed the, like, seamless shoe look, because the RPC is still, like, the best with their Kung Fu shoes, in my opinion. Like, so unless I, like, really needed that specific look, that I would never again. I've said this before, but as soon as, like, Print Costume starts using, like, better Kung Fu shoes, it's over for the RPC. Like, there's no, at that point, in my opinion, there's no reason to order a suit from them anymore. Because right now, that is the absolute best thing that they have going for them, is their Kung Fu shoes and how they install them. They're perfectly seamless. They're easy to get on. They're great. But as soon as Print Costume, like, ups that on their end, done. Because the suit qualities are so close that, like I said, the only thing that separates them is that Print Costume's Kung Fu shoes are absolute dog crap. They're friggin' awful. I don't care what anybody says. They're uncomfortable. They're such a pain to even get into. They suck. But to be fair, the RPC does have some perks. One being that they do make, quality stuff, and it's like a nice tier between Print Costume and someone, say, like Fed or Parallel Life Studios. And personally, I do like their shells. I think they're pretty sturdy. Overall, I think they have a good shape, and they have a ton of great options. Though, that being said, I think there's plenty of makers out there now that have comparable pricing and selection, even when it comes to custom stuff. That's usually even 3D printed for the most part. So it kind of makes the cost of, like, an RPC set of custom lenses and shield not really worth it as much anymore. But again, they still do have a great selection. I think their sort of biggest strength is that they can do everything and fairly well. it can just kind of be a hassle. So usually for me, what I recommend is like if you're only ever going to own like maybe a handful of Spidey suits, or maybe do want, one of those suits that is sort of like not quite a perfect movie replica, but maybe like just a step below. I think they're a good option for that. But I think if you're trying to really build out a collection, they're just not really worth the hassle, nor are they cost effective to get every single suit through them. Like I said, their strongest sort of asset in that regard to like suit creation, I think personally, is their kung fu shoes. But again, Heroes Time even has like decent kung fu shoes. I don't usually recommend them, but like if you're somebody who like really wants the kung fu shoes but doesn't want to pay the RPC prices, I would say they're the next best bet that I'm aware of. And then you can always settle for print costume, of course. But like I said, other than that sort of scenario, I don't really see them as worth sort of the risk. And from what I've seen, the only people that really swear by the RPC Studio are either cosplayers who don't dedicate most, if not all, their cosplays to Spider-Man, or have a big following, or are sponsored by them. I don't hear too many smaller Spideys like really sing their praises, to be honest. But then again, I don't know. Maybe that's just my bubble. It's just their inconsistency for me. Like I said, not really worth it unless you're only ever going to get like a handful of suits, or like I said, want one of those like premium close to movie replica suits. Anyways, this video's kind of gone on long enough. I've rambled enough. I hope you guys have found this helpful, or at the very least, like, insightful. Take it kind of as you will. It just is like a friendly sort of warning of like, hey, from one Spidey, from one webhead to the next. If you want more content like this, or you want to see me dive more into reviewing suits from these different creators, like the RPC and Zentai's own print costume, Ultimate Spidey suits, Elf, whoever, leave a comment below. Let me know. I'm always looking for new people to collab with and work with and order from, and so hey, I'm not opposed to trying somebody new. And if you're feeling up for it, maybe hit that little subscribe button, possibly that bell icon too. Get updated when if I ever do the thing. Well, anyways, in the words of the immortal cosplay Chris, wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having yourself a cracker of the day. And remember, with great power comes great responsibility. For the record, I changed that last bit. He doesn't actually say, the Spider-Man line. Yeah, alright. Anyways. Bye.